it affects the families personally and how it affects other families that are actually in the workshop. They need to overcome stress, like Marina said. We had certain workshops, which Brendan will get into more in depth. Substance abuse, neglect from their children. Sometimes when you're under stress, you tend to neglect your own children, and which can be very sad, kind of like how you guys had to go into the urban setting. You saw that there, I'm sure. Seniors live to learn independently in their own homes. We didn't deal with any senior citizens, really, so I can't expand on that, but that was something that the CFC mission was. And then refugee families, basically any immigrants that came into the program, the CFC would be there to help with their arrival. Maybe if they didn't learn any English, they would provide some classes or lessons on English and to get them recognized into their life. And then some of the housing services. Obviously, we all learned that the homeless number in Monroe County has been rising, and then that the stereotype of the typical homeless person is not just a smelly old man who lives under a bridge, and that there is young people who actually need help. And then also for children, men and women, so families as well. CFC provides hot meals and a place to sleep, so you can feel comfortable there, and that's actually like your own place to go. Job training, computer classes, counseling, and other support services. We kind of added on to this with our workshops, so we'll get into that in a little bit later. And then, most importantly, when I looked up this information, homelessness is not just the root of the problem. There's other issues like personal stance, or money issues, or family issues, or maybe you have no family members in the area that you can actually go to is why you're homeless. And then behavioral health, communication and guidance. These would be meeting with counselors, or maybe John Paulette first, which is the director, going to Haiti, which is our site supervisor directly. I've always seen at our workshops, at least a couple of them would meet and go talk in her office, either before or after the workshop. I'm guessing maybe personal reasons. The substance abuse program, like I said before, actually I think all of them are recovering alcoholics and drug users. There's also personal recovery oriented services and employee assistant programs, which are obviously programs that just help with finding employment. And then New York State Mental Health Clinic. Workforce development. The biggest obstacles to get a job, I think, that anyone can relate to is to be on your own and to secure a steady paycheck, which is another way we did with one of our workshops. We did a budgeting workshop, which we hopefully taught them how to manage their money better. Workforce development programs. And then what happens after establishing a paycheck is important as well. The Credit Evaluation Bureau will meet with them and go over maybe certain debts. And then social justice. The bottom line is really standing up for what's right. When it comes to the underserved and poor in our community, we don't really know and we aren't aware unless we actually put our hands in it. And focusing and changing unjust systems that keep people from realizing their fullest potential. A lot of our family members had no idea that they had such strong hearts and they actually wanted to do and succeed in college and getting a job, actually just learning from us. Advocacy, like expanding on the issues in our community, which obviously would be homelessness, since the number I said before is rising, and employment issues. And then just a quote that I pulled from the website was persistent advocacy for the poor and vulnerable, which I think was a part of the mission statement. And then they also would like to teach each client voter registration, recycling, affordable housing, human services, employment, and transportation, which a lot of them use the bus. They don't really have any own personal cars, and if they do, money, again, is another issue. And then culture and diversity. I'm not going to read this whole quote, but this is the diversity and cultural competency statement. Basically, like I said in the very beginning, they don't discriminate against race, gender, age, educational background, religion, ethnicity, culture, physical disabilities, sexual orientation, and other differences.
So for our project, instead of one of us running each and every workshop, we all took part and had a role in each workshop. Erica was our communication leader, and she was the middle person between Professor Donahue, Haiti, and us, and she would send the weekly updates to Professor Donahue as well. She designed the workshop outlines and would send them to us a week before our workshop, and she helped organize, facilitate, and manage discussions for our workshops as well. Katie and Erica both researched for our workshops, and Katie helped come up with ideas and topics for our workshops that were most fitting to the needs of our women. And when doing specific workshops, she would actually participate in the activities that we came up with as well. I created an overview or an introduction for our workshop, and that would basically consist of the definitions of what we were going over. So for our last workshop, we did nutrition, as was said quite a few times. And I basically started off with a question to get them to actually discuss with us and interact with us. So they would not only listen to us talk, but actually participate, which helped them learn more. And Marina and Brendan actually came up with activities for our workshops, and they tried to create ways to make all the participants participate with not only a chance to learn about the certain topic, but actually have fun as well. And after receiving an outline and research from the group, activities that were fun and simple so everybody could participate were created.
Alright, so you guys now know what our objectives are, but I'm just going to take you, we did 5 total workshops, so I'm going to take you through the 5 workshops that we actually did and what activities we implemented in order to make the workshop successful. So workshop number 1, obviously we started out with an icebreaker. They didn't know us, we didn't know them. And we actually got lost on our way there, so we were all actually kind of pretty nervous on what to expect. We've been students our whole lives for the most part, and we've always been the ones being taught. So it was kind of a different perspective when you're going to go out there and actually teach them, especially because most of them are older than us. So what we did was we did a pre-workshop quiz, which was basically how you feel when you're stressed. They wrote down a few things that stress them out and how they feel besides stress, like what other emotions do they feel with being stressed. So then we tried to liven things up a bit, and we tried to do some role playing, which tried to show signs of stress in real life situations. We aren't the best actors, but we tried our best, so hopefully we got them to smile a little bit. Then during the workshop, all of a sudden, when we were talking about stress, they really started opening up to us. Like Marina said, they unexpectedly just kind of went into how, like the real situations that happened in their lives that we didn't really expect, because we didn't know that they were going to be that personal with us that quick. So about half hour into the workshop, they were talking about their personal lives and their situations, again about alcohol and drug abuse and stuff like that, and how some were talking about how there's been abuse in their families and how they've actually done it and gone to jail and stuff like that. So a lot of the first workshop was kind of like a vent session, and it was not originally part of our workshop, but I think it worked out for the better because we got to get to know them a lot more on a personal level. And then we talked about ways to prevent stress, like finding hobbies, like reading, and steps to avoiding stress, which would be like trying to isolate yourself. I know for one of the ladies said that she likes to take her anger out on other people, so isolating yourself would probably be the best thing to do. And we said for each of them to find a hobby that they could do, so they can kind of get that stress out through that hobby. So our next workshop was budgeting. Although we don't have too much experience with budgeting, we felt like we could give as many tips as possible, and for like everyday life and stuff like that. So we talked about ways to saving money, which are simple things like looking for deals and coupons and stuff like that. Then we got into talking about short and long-term goals, and we tried to make it as realistic as possible. We didn't want to say like, you know, your long-term goal is to be a millionaire or something like that. Like, we tried to make it realistic to their life and their situation. And then we talked about priority spending, and we compared to what they talked about their priorities were to what actually should be the priorities, or the main priorities in their lives when they can spend money. Most of the people there don't receive an income or have very little income if they do. So we try to stress this as much as possible, which the priority spending, because if you don't have a lot of money coming in, then you really can't have a lot of money coming out, and so we try to stress that. We talked about smart shopping, deals, coupons, and saving as much money as possible. Even if you do have a lot of money in the bank, we try to stress that just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you should be spending a lot of money. And then we gave out some handouts, which were budget sheets, and we told them to fill it in on their own time, because we figured we wouldn't get too personal with what they have to pay for. And so the sheet just kind of shows you know, their expenses and their incomes and what they're spending on, and then we also gave them a sheet about kind of what they should be, what the average person spends it on, kind of help them out with what they should be spending as well. So the third workshop we did was computer skills. We brought in computers to help them out, and we brought in also an HDMI cord to hook it up to the TV they have there so everyone could see. And what we did was we tried to explain all the things that they would use right now. I mean, obviously a computer is very high tech, so you can't explain everything in one day. So we did the simple things. First thing we started off with was Microsoft Word. They were basically familiar with this. They were familiar with Microsoft Word, but you know, some of the stuff like copy, pasting, saving, they didn't know the shortcuts to, or you know, editing font, colors, stuff like that. A lot of them didn't even know. So that became very helpful for them.